Okay, everyone. Welcome to Fleet Training 101. My name is Max Akami from Cherry Poppers. Um, Putting this up, I already did one live training, and I failed to record it properly, so that's my apologies for that. So I'm redoing this. If you have any questions, please ask me in game or on the forum where I post this. Ask the questions. I also plan on doing more of these trainings, more advanced ones, but for now, doing my typical one, which is Fleet Training 101, which is a very basic how to properly fly in a fleet. So without further ado, let's move along. Alright, so how to play Eve. Everyone knows Eve is one of the most complicated games out there. That's why we mostly all play it. It's a fun game, it's just a lot goes into it. So even the veteran players that may be watching this, there's always something new to learn. I don't care if you've been playing since day one, there's always going to be something new that can pop up. Alright, so your first thing to do. Alright, you can only do this when you're undocked, so make sure you're safe, sitting right on undock, and paying attention when you're doing this. If anyone starts to target you, dock back up. But the main thing is, pardon my French, but unfucking your overview. This is a little link here is post-retribution, but it still applies. It's slightly outdated, but you might want to pause this or look for the link, ask me in game, and I will post it for you. Or also find someone that has a really good overview setup. Now that with the Hyperion release, you can share your overview settings. I don't have that currently loaded. This is an old slideshow. I will be getting a GIF on how to do that shortly made for you guys too. But this is very important, that way you're not shooting blues or people in your own fleet. It's the quickest way to die, make enemies, and overall it's bad. And you just want it to be set up. Preferably I'd recommend having a few tabs. One tab would be set up for general PvP, where all you see is things that you should be allowed to shoot. Another one would be friendly targets, where all you see is friendly targets. One would be a travel tab that just has gates and stations on it so you can quickly travel around. And then your last one, I always have a get the fuck out tab. It just has every warpable structure or place in the system you're in so that you can warp right there. Okay, so why do we fly in fleets? What are the purpose of fleets? Basically, fleets allow us all to do the same thing almost at the exact same time, as far as we could all warp around the system together. We can be pretty much better organized is the point of a fleet. That way we're not all just bouncing around all willy-nilly. We can make sure we focus fire, follow one leader, and we're not all spread out. So going into that, our next thing will be the fleet rules. So you have a few different fleet rules here. These are just the basic ones. There's a little bit more specialized ones when you get into Blops fleets and things of that nature. But for now, I'm going to go over the basic ones, which are FC, Scout, Tackle, DPS, Logi, and EWAR. FC. FC is Fleet Commander. It is, for all intents and purposes, your god on the battlefield. If the FC tells you to do something, you are to do it immediately. You may question what the FC says, but you don't. I mean, you wait till later on, whenever you have more time and you're not actually in a fleet. If the FC tells you to do something, whether you agree with it or not, you do it. Also, the FC is the only one that should be talking in fleet unless he designates other people to talk. If he asks you questions, you can answer them on comms, but mainly he's going to want you to type in the fleet chat box. That is where everything happens. That is where you guys can have conversations, troll each other, put gifs up, doesn't matter. But that if you need to communicate something to FC, you put that. But I'll cover comms a little bit later. Alright, your next thing's Scout. That's the primary person that your FC is going to be talking to. He's 1-2 jumps ahead of the FC, or the whole fleet. He usually has a separate comms window open with the FC, a little chat box, so that he can relay things without getting people too overly excited, and also without talking over the FC while the FC might be trying to do something in that system. Scouts usually in a fast frig. Preferably, I prefer when I have FC interceptors because they can get in on something, point it really quickly, and wait and hold it till the whole fleet gets there. that is what comes down to tackler. Tackler, that's usually another fast frig. Doesn't have to be a fast frig, but it has to usually be a fast ship. Tackler, their sole purpose in life is to tackle a ship. Tackle means put a point or scram. I'll go a little bit into more detail on what the differences are in that in a little bit. But their whole point is, like I said, tackle so the ships can't get away. DPS, damage per second, that is exactly what it sounds like. Their sole mission in life is to shoot the shit out of a target and make sure it goes boom as quickly as possible. DPS ships, catalysts, Desis, they're pure DPS, very fragile. They're often called glass cannons. They don't have much tank, but all they can do is shoot. I mean, there's always exceptions to that rule. Most of our ships that we fly are not glass cannons, but when you're talking Desis, that's what they are. But all DPS is you're applying as much damage as you can. Logi. Logi is the healer class of Eve, if you've played other MMOs. That is going to be our Ospreys, our Guardians, Scimitars, Semis. They will give you cap, they will give you shields, they will give you armor depending on what they are set up for. Each race has their different things. We fly armor fleets, so they will be giving armor to us. They usually are usually ineffective being solo. They have to be usually 3 at a minimum because they're never cap stable on their own. So they will always fly around with more than one, and they'll be constantly transferring cap to each other. Your next one is going to be E-War. E-War are ships like Falcons, Blackbirds, Griffins. Their job is to put sensor dampeners on targets, jam targets. That way that those targets pretty much prevent them from shooting you. Okay, some quick fleet terminology. These are just a few of things, of the different fleet terms we have. There's plenty of them out there, but these are the basic ones you're going to hear with us. Aligning. That is simply pointing your ship to a certain area in space so that you can make sure it is aligned and we can warp there quicker. That way whenever FC hits fleet warp, everyone warps to the destination at the exact same time instead of onesie twosies. You also hear the FC say every once in a while say soft align. That is when you're expecting a fight to come in that you might not be able to win, but you're still trying to do something. Say you're doing a poker or pause bash. So what you do is you'd align your ship and then immediately hit control spacebar and stop your ship. So that way you're not moving away from your target, you're still in range of your target, but when FC calls for warp, you warp. Anchor. Anchor is simply you're going to orbit or stay within a certain range of your anchor, and the anchor is effectively going to navigate your whole fleet around the battlefield. Make sure you're within range of targets called. Usually the anchor is going to be the FC. Hold on gate. When you're warping around through system to systems, you never want to Leroy into a gate. You want to hold on that gate. That gives the scout and the FC time to gather his plan for whenever he goes onto that other side. So you just simply hold on the gate and orbit the gate at a minimum of or at a max of about 1,000 so that you can jump as soon as FC tells you to. You never want to be stationary in Eve, you always want to be moving, so in case you do have to engage something on a gate, you're already ready to attack them. Alright, jump on contact. That is when the FC tells you jump on contact as soon as you land on the gate. That means as soon as you land, you're jumping through. That's usually when we're going pretty quickly through fleets, or through systems so we can catch a target or run away. Hold cloak. When you jump through a gate, you automatically are going to be cloaked up. That cloak lasts for about 30 seconds. Your ships will all appear on local, or at least your names will. But whenever people are scanning the system, they won't see your ship. You want to hold that cloak so that we don't give away our fleet composition, and we can immediately warp onto something without them knowing what's coming to them. Burn to or away. Burning is one of the most common things you'll see. Burning is whenever you, say you jump in through a gate, you come out of the gate at like 10, 12 kilometers away from the gate, and you need to get back towards that gate. All you're going to do is click on that gate and activate your prop mods and move straight towards that object. Burn away from gate, same thing. So if anyone tells you to burn away from something or to something, that's all you're doing is you're clicking in space the opposite direction and moving as fast as you can away from it. Spread point. Spread point is when you warp in on a bunch of targets. FC will yell spread point, and that means you point whatever's next to you. That way we can catch as many things as that we can before they all try and warp off. Crashing gate. Crashing gate, it's whenever you're doing a gate camp or you jump through a gate and you run into a gate camp and you need to get out of there as quick as you can. You don't aggress anyone. All you do is burn back to the gate as quickly as you can and jump through. Okay, so that comes down to primary. Primary is what the FC is going to be telling you to shoot. You don't just, when you engage other enemy fleets, you don't shoot whatever you feel like shooting. You shoot the primary only. You don't want to be the cute guy while you're shooting with your main guns, putting your drones on another target. All your guns in DPS should be focused on that primary target and only that primary target. That way you can take things down quickly. Fleets that spread their damage to other targets lose. You can dismantle fleets that aren't focusing damage. We don't, here in orderly conduct or whatever corps within disorderly conduct or orderly misconduct, we don't do that. That's how we win. That's how we continue to win. Secondaries. Secondaries are going to be what the FC calls what is what the primary. After the primary goes down, you're going straight to the secondary. So he'll call that. So you lock that secondary up too. So as soon as he says, "Alright, switch to secondary," you're ready to go to that. Alright, Plex. Plex in fleets does not count for pilot license extensions. They're not the things that give you ISK or more game time. Plex in these are dead space pockets with a warp gate. It's where the beacons are to help people capture faction warfare systems. Pretty much all you do is you just warp right in on the gate at 10. You always warp to a gate, the Plex gate at 10, so that you don't bounce off the gate, and as soon as you land, the FC will tell you to activate and you activate. Oh, god damn it, I'm webbed and pointed. Funny little illustration. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to give you a practical application on what happens if you get webbed and pointed, because there's no one here to ask questions and we can't fly around in space. But pretty much, if you're ever pointed, scrammed, don't panic. It happens. Don't shout it out in chat that you're pointed and webbed unless you're in a cruiser, or not cruiser, but a capital ship, which is going to happen. All you're going to simply do is click in the opposite direction that you're flying and burn as quickly as you can away from that. If you're using a warp disruptor scram, you're not going to be able to use anything but an or if you're using warp disruptor, you can still use your prop mods. If you're using scram, you're not going to be able to use your micro warp drive. Just use your afterburner. Burn the opposite direction. If it's a scrammed, it's with usually, good rule of thumb, 10k away from that target. If it's a warp disruptor, 20 away from that target. So that way you can get out and continue to fight or run away. People always want more boobs, so I just figured to break this monotony up here. I'm going to show you some boobs. They're pretty nice ones. That's me, by the way. Don't laugh. Okay, this is the portion where I tell you guys to undock. We can't undock right now because no one's in this, but alright, let me move along and I'm going to go over some stuff here. Okay, give me 1 second. Alright. So, okay, my UI is not up, but let's see here. So basically, I'm going to undock here. I'm in Dan Toomey. See if I can edit this real quick. I apologize. Should have had this sorted out. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Okay, so basic things on your overview here. My overview is set up a little different than most. Some people prefer, they all have their own things. My basic one that I like to use is this. I like to keep my D-scan up here, right up in the corner, pop. I have my overview right below that. I have my drones, my selected items window. then this is where I keep all my targeting and everything. That way when my targeting comes up, all my guns pop up right here, or all my targets. So everything's just real quick mouse. I'm not having to go all the way up here, down here, down here. Everything's within this bottom corner of the screen. Okay. Then I always keep your local right off here. You want to keep your local up so everybody can see it. And then you can't see it because I have my little GIF here, or my little picture here blocking everything. But you want to have that somewhat so you can see it. I always keep the fleet window up so I can see what's going on in fleet. Okay, so going over some things here. Alright, I just picked something. Alright, so let me zoom out so that ship's not as distracting. Can't make this any bigger, I apologize, but you'll get the idea. Alright, so this is your selected items window. Going over to things that are on it. You have line 2. There's shortcut keys for all these, but I'm not going to go over those right now. That's up for each user's preference. Line 2, if you can't see my mouse, it's the first button, little arrow pointed to a circle. That's what you want to click when you say align to X. If I want to align to the OSA gate, I'd click align to. Warp to, simple, what you want to warp to. Alright, dock. This only applies right here. If it's to a gate, it would be a jump through button, so it'd look like a circle with an arrow going through it. Orbit. We'll come back to orbit, but it looks like a little planet with an arrow circling around it. Keep it ranged. 2 arrows with lines on either ends. Target. I think you guys know what that is. Look at so you can see what the ship is. And then info about what you're looking at. Going back to this look at, some pilots are pretty skilled. If you have time, you can look and see what each person is flying, what is on their ship, and you'll get used to knowing what guns look like what. I don't have it on mine because my settings are down lower because my computer kind of sucks, but it gives you a good idea. That's something you might want to play with in the future. It takes a long time to learn it. I have been playing for a while and I still haven't learned it. Okay, so orbiting. You always want to have your set orbit at your optimal, or if your optimal is longer than your point, you want to keep it, your point is where you're going to keep it at. So like let me hover over my, I have a scram fitted right now. My scram only goes out to a range of 9,000, so I want to make sure when I set my orbit it's at my optimal, which is going to be under 9,000. My guns just happen to fall in the range of being at around 3,000. Or optimal range is in 3. So I would set my guns at about a little below 3,465. So I'd set it exactly at 3,000. That way I'm constantly warping, or constantly whenever I do everything, I'm good. Alright, keep it range. That's another one. You can set the default on that, where your set range is within whatever distance you want it to be. I keep mine at 500 because the only thing I personally use keep it range for is anchoring. But there's other more advanced PvP techniques that I'm not going to go over. But alright, let's do some quick descanning. It's going to be a little bit harder for me to do it because I don't have anyone to practice with here. But just let me get you, I'll just get you familiar with the overview here. Okay, so we have my overview set up here. You're not going to be able to see that. Okay, I apologize, and you'll be able to see the things I need you to look at, so that's good. Sorry to a little cut off. So you have these 5 buttons right here. They each do something different. Look at your cargo hold in your ship. Scanners. You have an autopilot one, which is the bane of existence. You should just never even look at your autopilot. Your camera controls, and your tactical overlay. Alright, so the one we're going to be concentrating on is scanners. So when you click it, it opens up a little radial menu. You'll see one that looks like a Wi-Fi symbol. And once you click on that, it's on the far right side. And that will pop up this screen. This is your active overview settings. Or your directional scanner. You have your probe scanner, your D-scan, moon analysis. We're only concentrating on D-scan right now. Alright, so what you're going to want to do is make sure this box, use active overview settings, is checked. That will make sure that everything you have over here is appearing on here. So you want your enemy ships ones to be up here so it can pull up the enemy ships. So make sure that's checked. Then you have your range angle. Your range goes all the way out at a maximum of 14.3 AU. So when you're scanning stuff, you can only see things that are 14.3 AU away from you. Then you have your angle. That goes from 360 degrees all the way down to 5 degrees and everywhere in between. Now, the overview, or the angle you're looking at right now at 360 degrees, it is a 360 degree bubble all the way around your ship, shooting out 14.3 AU at my current settings. So when you first initially jump into a system, you usually want to hit that. You want to hit 360. That will give you a little picture of what you should be looking at. Then when you're trying to scan stuff down, you're going to look at your overview. Right now on my overview, I have all the stations within systems. So there's a bunch of things from here down to within the 14.AU. So by good practices, you want to start off scanning down slowly and slowly to try and pinpoint targets. But say we're jumping into a system, we're scanning plexes down. You want to move that down to either 15 or 5 degrees. And then click on whatever you want to look at, and your camera will swing that way if it is set up right. Now the way you want to get that set up right is turn tracking camera on or off. You want your tracking camera to be turned on so that when you click on something, your camera pans around automatically. See how it's doing that? Because the key thing to realize is when you're looking, your camera is facing what you're looking at, not what your ship is pointed to, where you're looking. See that? Alright. So, say I wanted to scan down, see what was at that Dantoomy star. Click on the Dantoomy star, hit scan at 5 degrees, and it would show me what's there. If there's any other ships there, it'd obviously show me another ship, but there's none there. I'm sorry this is a little bit harder to do when there's no ships here, but gives you a good idea. So we'll scan down a few more things. Alright, so now I'm trying to scan down Dantoomy 4. Okay, so right there it gave me all these moons, all these stations there, because all the stations in this system are directly in a line. So just because you think you saw something, say you're in Faction Warfare space and you see a site, a plex, and you try and scan it down, just because you see something there doesn't give you an exact location. That could be anywhere between your ship and that plex. And it's just a brief snapshot. You sometimes will, if you're lucky enough, you'll sometimes just catch stuff warping through. So, alright, well, I'm going to dock back up here. Let me get my overview set up back the way I like it. Okay.
Docking permission requested. Docking requested accepted.
Let me mess with something real quick, guys. I apologize. I wanted to go over a little UI with you guys, hopefully. Might not happen this training. I'll go over it later for our newer players. But basically that's going to be it. One last thing before I go. I'm going to turn the screen off. Don't worry, I'm still here. I'm just turning this off because I need to open my mail and go over something with you guys real quick. One thing that we have been having trouble with is comms. So I'm going to go over that real quick with you on fleet etiquette and protocol. Okay. I know you guys can't read this, but this is the mail I'm talking about. You probably have it in your inbox. It's fleet etiquette and protocol sent out by leadership, and I'll go over the things from you, top and from bottom. This has been a problem that we've been having. It's getting a lot better. thank you guys. The fleets I've been taking out, comms have been amazing, and we're on small gangs. And I don't expect perfect fleet discipline on small gangs, but it's been amazing. So, number one, if the FC doesn't ask you a question and you don't have an important intel, be quiet. No talking. You use the fleet chat window for that. So, what do we consider important intel? Here's the things we in orderly misconduct believe is good intel. Coherent intel on enemy fleet movements. So say you have tunes or friends in other systems and they say 30 gang Ishtar is moving through, a 30 man Ishtar gang is moving through such and such system. That is great. We need to know that. That is when you'll put that, say either over comms FC break, if it's like the system right next door, or you put it down in the fleet chat window saying, FC, this is what's going on. Another one would be notifications when you have tackles. So when you warp in on something and FC calls a primary, and you will just simply say tackle on primary. That's it. That's all we want to hear. We don't want to hear anything else. Just say tackle or point. Notification of a significant loss of logi, capital assets, or something that's going to majorly affect the fight. So if you're in a cruiser or down and you lose something, don't scream that, oh, Max is going down, Max is going down, Max is going down. Just take your death and move on. Just simply go over into the fleet chat and put -1 whatever ship, and that's it. That's all you need to put there. Now if you're in Logi and you know there's only 3 Logi, then the Logi FC will probably be in charge of telling the FC, hey, Logi's going down, you don't have Logi anymore, you might want to bail out. Alright, so any other significant change that the FC needs to be aware of, Sinos, something important on DScan, but mainly your just general rule, you don't need to know. The FCs are pretty well aware of their situations and their surroundings. So, like I said, outside of those things, if you need to speak, type something in chat like FC and wait for the FC to acknowledge you, and then you'll talk. Alright, do with FCs always. You might be asking, what if he tells you to do something I disagree with? The answer is, you're going to do it anyways. If not, you're going to find yourself in a different corporation or alliance, because you'll probably be getting kicked out, and you're not going to find any alliances or corporations to tolerate that. The FC word is final in fleets. FCs are held accountable. If the FC does something stupid, if I do take out fleet and I do something incredibly egregiously stupid, I'm going to get my ass chewed. But always do what he says. Follow whatever he does, whatever he's engaging, do exactly what she says. However, if it's reported that FC is consistently being foolish, like I said, we're going to get our ass chewed. We're not going to, none of the FCs are going to yell at people. We might get strong tone, but ultimately we're here to have fun. These rules sound bad. I just gave you a list of don't do these, and you're like, well, hey, shit, this is a video game I played for fun. Well, we all play for fun, and winning is fun. So to get that done, we need to follow this. Comms can make or break a fleet. So just put it in this chat and have fun in the Alliance channel in the fleet chat. That's the best place to do it. If we're on a Paco bash or a pause bash, it's not a big deal. We can bullshit in chat, but as soon as FC says clear comms, you clear comms immediately. Other than that, I know I went through things a little fast. It was a little bit harder since I don't have any interaction with players. Apologize for that. I'm gonna be doing these training more often. Working on with some other guys, getting how to fly safely mining fleet up, an advanced PvP fleet. I'm going to make a quick one for overview settings, basic user interface settings, how that works. So there's going to be a few that we're working with. Other than that, if you have any questions, Maxicom is the name, Maxwell in game. Send me an email. When I post this on the forums, ask questions in the thread. But other than that, fly dangerously, guys. Thanks for stopping by and listening.